Today, Harry and Meghan torched what little was left of their relationship with the royal family and what little was left, frankly, of their own reputations.
A scandal just exploded across the internet when Piers Morgan unleashed previously unseen yacht girl photos and clips of Meghan Markle, reportedly aboard a private yacht alongside high-profile figures. The leak has ignited viral outrage, prompting accusations of image manipulation, deleted social posts, and a chilling silence from those closest to her. Whether strategic PR or damning proof, this resurfaced past is now dominating headlines, and Meghan, ever the master of narrative control, is supposedly furious. Reality is crashing her curated facade, and the fallout is spreading faster than any legal notice ever could. The uproar began the moment grainy yet unmistakable footage made its way into the spotlight. The clips and stills allegedly showed Meghan lounging on the deck of a Mediterranean yacht in the mid-2010s, surrounded by champagne glasses, designer shades, and a circle of well-connected businessmen. At first glance, the photos weren't scandalous in the traditional sense. No law-breaking, no obvious impropriety. But the context told a different story. This wasn't the Meghan Markle of red carpet premieres or glossy charity galas. This was an image of access, of someone who already moved in elite circles long before her royal marriage. What truly amplified the controversy was timing. The pictures surfaced just as Meghan was in the middle of another rebrand, positioning herself as a global humanitarian and lifestyle entrepreneur. The contrast was jarring, and the internet pounced. Forums lit up with side-by-side comparisons of Meghan's public image and the alleged yacht clips, asking how much of her carefully packaged narrative had been rewritten along the way. For critics, the leak felt like confirmation of long-standing suspicions that Meghan's path into the royal family was less a fairy tale accident and more calculated climb. The optics alone were enough to make headlines, and within hours, the debate wasn't just about a few old photos. It was about whether the Duchess had ever truly been the person she claimed to be. Leave it to Piers Morgan to take a spark and fan it into a blaze. When he aired the leaked yacht footage on live television, it wasn't done cautiously or buried beneath layers of caveats. He presented it as a bombshell moment, a revelation that ripped away the curtain Meghan had spent years pulling shut. Morgan, never one to mince words, framed the footage as proof of what he's claimed all along, that Meghan is a master manipulator of public perception, reinventing her past depending on what role she wanted to play. The delivery was sharp, even theatrical. He smirked, rolled his eyes, and emphasized every detail in a way that guaranteed headlines would follow. Viewers weren't just watching leaked images. They were watching Morgan stage a cultural indictment. By playing the clips while hammering home lines about reinvention and secrets, he turned the photos into a narrative weapon. To his critics, it was classic Piers, petty, vindictive, obsessive. But to his supporters, it was vindication. What made his take especially brutal was how it cut across Meghan's central selling point: authenticity. Her brand has always been about being real, a contrast to the stiff royal facade. Morgan's commentary suggested the opposite, that every moment of her story, from Hollywood to Buckingham, was carefully engineered. The internet latched on immediately, with hashtags exploding and debates raging over whether Morgan had crossed a line or merely spoken an uncomfortable truth. Either way, his monologue ensured that the yacht scandal couldn't be quietly ignored. The leak did more than spark gossip. It ripped open a vault of Meghan's pre-royal life that had long been sealed. Armchair detectives, professional commentators, and casual viewers suddenly had a fresh lens through which to reinterpret old rumors, stories of networking at elite parties, whispers about strategic friendships, and questions about deleted social media posts now carried new weight. Every anecdote once brushed off as tabloid noise was being dusted off and re-examined. The imagery painted a picture not of a struggling actress grinding her way up the Hollywood ladder, but of a woman who already had access to circles most only dream about. Expensive yacht trips, luxury settings, and notable acquaintances became puzzle pieces. The dots connected themselves, suggesting a trajectory far different from the self-made image she'd worked so hard to market. What hit hardest for fans was the betrayal of narrative. Meghan's supporters had always seen her as a modern Cinderella figure, a working actress who, through grit and resilience, captured a prince's heart. Now, the resurfaced images invited another interpretation, that she wasn't plucked from obscurity, but had already been maneuvering within elite spaces long before Harry ever entered the picture. The microscope grew harsher with every repost and commentary. Podcasts speculated, Reddit threads organized evidence boards, and even sympathetic outlets began cautiously asking questions. This wasn't about proving guilt, it was about perception. And in the world Meghan inhabits, perception is everything. One photo became the focal point of the scandal, a sun-soaked deck, champagne in hand, a gathering of sharply dressed men and women, and Meghan at the center. The image itself wasn't damning, but the surrounding questions were relentless. Who were the men beside her? What connections did they have? Why had the photo all but disappeared from public view until now? Online sleuths went to work, combing through old event rosters, guest lists, and travel logs. They claimed to find overlaps between the yacht party attendees and figures tied to other controversial social circles. Some even cross-referenced sunglasses styles and champagne brands with time-stamped Instagram posts, trying to prove the authenticity of the setting. It wasn't about one photo. It was about the entire environment it represented. The real sting came from the implication of intentional erasure. If the party was harmless, why had evidence of it vanished so completely? Former acquaintances who might have shed light on those years were suddenly silent, some deleting old posts entirely. The absence of answers left space for speculation, and speculation in the digital age is more dangerous than fact. The narrative morphed quickly. Meghan didn't just attend a yacht party. She was part of an elite social web, maneuvering her way into proximity with the powerful. Whether true or not, the image had achieved what rumors alone never could. It crystallized suspicion into something visible, a single frame that could be replayed endlessly across screens worldwide. What once would have been tabloid fodder is now citizen-led investigation. Ordinary internet users, armed with facial recognition tools, metadata trackers, and archives of long-deleted Instagram posts, began piecing together a mosaic that traditional media couldn't ignore. It started small, someone spotting a familiar background, another pointing out a recurring travel pattern. But soon, an avalanche of receipts flooded forums and feeds. Yacht locations matched with past check-ins. Former friends' posts that once tagged Meghan but now lay scrubbed clean. Digital forensics revealing when photos had been deleted, re-uploaded, or subtly altered. To some, this was evidence of a carefully orchestrated cleanup operation during Meghan's rise to royal status. To others, it was proof that she simply had a life before fame she no longer wanted highlighted. The detectives weren't driven by malice alone. Many claimed frustration at her silence. Meghan had always fought aggressively against tabloid misrepresentations, but this time, her refusal to clarify fed suspicion. Silence, in the age of oversharing, is interpreted as guilt. Every non-comment became a thread to pull, every missing post a clue. The result was not a single smoking gun, but a network of consistent hints, a web too tangled to dismiss as coincidence. The investigation itself became the story, as much about Meghan's erasure of her past as the past itself. And in the unforgiving world of online culture, once the crowd decides something is being hidden, no PR campaign can ever fully bury it again. What raised eyebrows faster than the leaked photos was the eerie silence from Meghan's once vocal friends and allies. People who previously posted about their nights out with her, stylists who tagged her in photos, even acquaintances who casually mentioned her in interviews, all suddenly quiet. Some accounts have been scrubbed clean, others show signs of careful editing, with captions changed or tags removed. The silence is deafening, and in today's hyper-connected world, it doesn't feel accidental. Critics argue that if there were nothing to hide, those closest to Meghan would be the first to defend her. Instead, we're watching a vanishing act. Old colleagues dodge questions, party photos disappear, and even supportive voices avoid addressing the scandal directly. That absence creates a vacuum, one that the internet is more than happy to fill with speculation. It's also a stark contrast to Meghan's own history. She has built a reputation for taking the offensive when confronted by tabloids, launching lawsuits, issuing clarifications, and using her platform to fight narratives she dislikes. This time, though, her camp has gone dark. That coordinated hush only fuels suspicion that the damage control is happening behind the scenes, with NDAs whispered about and reputations being carefully managed. The silence isn't protecting her, it's hurting her. In the digital age, no response is often worse than a bad one, and Meghan's inner circle may have learned too late that when you stop speaking, others will write the story for you. As investigators scoured Meghan's past, one pattern stood out. Whole chunks of her digital footprint had been wiped clean. Instagram posts gone, Twitter accounts deleted, blogs, photos, and tagged content that once mapped her pre-royal life vanished overnight. At first, it looked like the typical cleanup anyone might do before entering a high-profile marriage. But the deeper sleuths dug, the more deliberate it seemed. Entire friend groups disappeared from public view. Fellow actors from her Suits days stopped mentioning her. Stylists and influencers who once bragged about working with Meghan suddenly dropped her name from their resumes. Rumors began circulating about NDAs, contracts quietly signed to ensure silence, a standard Hollywood tactic, but one that takes on a far darker edge when tied to questions of transparency. These vanishings didn't erase the past, they highlighted it. Every missing piece became a clue in itself, an absence too loud to ignore. Why delete harmless vacation photos? Why ask acquaintances to go silent? Why scrub associations with parties that could have been explained away as innocent networking? The NDA theory only added fuel. Online forums claimed that people with connections to Meghan refused to speak, not out of loyalty, but out of legal obligation. Whether true or not, the perception stuck. And in the age of digital permanence, the very act of erasing creates suspicion. When you've built a public brand around openness and relatability, a trail of deletions makes it look like there's something worth hiding. If Meghan had addressed the controversy immediately, it might have fizzled into another gossip cycle. Instead, her silence acted like gasoline. Every day without comment deepened the sense of guilt, turning unanswered questions into full-blown narratives. Silence is strategic in politics and law, but in celebrity culture, it's interpreted as confirmation. And Meghan, once so quick to defend herself in court or clap back against media outlets, is now letting the storm rage unchecked. The public doesn't understand this shift. Why fight over headlines about minor inaccuracies in the past, but say nothing when video evidence spreads across every platform? The inconsistency alone is suspicious. Her silence has allowed critics like Piers Morgan to dominate the conversation, positioning her not as a victim, but as someone caught in her own contradictions. The effect is cumulative. Each unanswered thread on Reddit, each speculation on podcasts, each headline using words like mystery and cover-up builds a perception of secrecy. Whether she is guilty of anything becomes irrelevant. The optics are already damaging enough. In an era where transparency is currency, silence feels like debt. Supporters argue that Meghan is protecting her peace, refusing to dignify conspiracy theories with responses. But in the court of public opinion, that nobility doesn't translate. What people hear is avoidance. What they see is someone cornered. And the longer the silence stretches, the more powerful the perception becomes that Meghan doesn't have an answer, because the truth isn't one she wants heard. The yacht scandal didn't create the feud between Meghan Markle and Piers Morgan, It reignited it. Their rivalry stretches back years, fueled by Morgan's disdain for Meghan's public persona and her refusal to acknowledge him after their brief personal encounter. For Morgan, this leak was an opportunity not just to attack her credibility, but to settle a very public score, and he did so with relish. On air, he painted Meghan as the ultimate manipulator, contrasting her speeches about honesty with images that suggested a carefully orchestrated climb through elite society. He called her a performance, not a person, a line designed to stick like glue. For critics of Meghan, it was vindication. For her supporters, it was harassment dressed as journalism. The clash isn't just personal, it's cultural. Morgan represents a faction of the British public that sees Meghan as a destructive force who damaged the monarchy, while Meghan embodies a narrative of breaking tradition and challenging outdated institutions. The yacht photos became the latest battlefield in that war of perception, each side using them to confirm their existing beliefs. What makes this round different is timing. Meghan is attempting a rebrand, moving into lifestyle projects and media ventures that rely heavily on trust and relatability. Morgan's attack strikes directly at that foundation, raising doubts just as she seeks new audiences. It's not merely a feud anymore, it's a fight over legacy, reputation, and the power to control the narrative in an age where one viral clip can define a career. The yacht scandal leaves one central question. Is Meghan Markle the authentic outsider she claimed to be, or the architect of a carefully scripted rise? For supporters, the photos prove nothing more than a private past unfairly weaponized. For critics, they're confirmation of a long-suspected strategy, ambition dressed as innocence. The silence from Meghan only sharpens the divide. In an age where transparency is currency, her refusal to address the rumors feels like debt. Whether this storm fades or lingers, the narrative of Meghan as either trailblazer or illusionist is now firmly in the public's hands. The resurfaced yacht photos aren't just images, they're symbols of a larger battle over truth, image, and power. Meghan Markle's silence has turned a rumor into a cultural debate, one that touches on authenticity, ambition, and the cost of reinvention. The internet may never settle on one verdict, but one thing is certain. Once the mask of narrative control slips, it's nearly impossible to put back on. This story isn't over, it's just beginning. If you want more unfiltered breakdowns of royal scandals and cultural firestorms, hit subscribe and join us as we dive deeper into the stories the palace can't control.